Welcome everyone to our very first @Chat PowerPoint party. I will just go to the next slide. Before we get into sharing our joy and our presentations, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia, of wherever people are joining from, particularly the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, where a majority of our team are meeting from today, and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and community. We pay our respect to them and their cultures and to elders past and present, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. We also want to acknowledge or do an acknowledgement of people with disability. So @Chat acknowledges the lived and living experience of people with disability and their family members, carers and supporters. We recognise the huge contribution that people with disability and other assistive technology users make to @Chat's work, and I think to all of our lives in general. So for those of you who don't know about @Chat, so @Chat is an initiative of ILA, which was formerly the Independent Living Centre of WA. We're a national peer-led co-design community for AT users to share information and lived experience about AT, with the emphasis on lived experience, to increase capability and confidence of people with disability and those who support them to make AT decisions through access to peer support and peer-led information, as it says in the presentation slide. And you can see our happy little faces from the team from a couple of years ago. So before we get into the presentations, there are some ground rules to help it all run smoothly for everyone. Please try and keep your presentation to 4 minutes. There's 5 minutes sort of like designated in total, but we're assuming that at the end people are going to be bursting with questions and comments and all of that. So 4 minutes presentation, 1 minute for the questions and chat. Joe is going to be notifying people at the 1 minute, at the 3 minute mark, so 1 minute before 4 minutes, so that you have some warning to wrap it up. And yep, save any of your questions for the end of the presentation rather than during the presentation. Please, if you're comfortable, hopefully this is allowed in the settings automatically, that people can choose, keep your camera on so we can see your faces, but it's up to you if you feel comfortable or don't feel comfortable with that. And if at any time you feel uncomfortable or you have a question or there's an issue or anything comes up, you can add a comment in the chat. I think it has an anonymous option, and someone from our team will help, or you can email @Chat at the @Chat email I've got on the screen there, and we'll do our best to help. I can see that Jo has her hand up. Yes.
At the 3 minute mark, instead of interrupting by speaking, I'll put my hand up like that. So raise a hand and okay. You'll see that that's the 3 minute mark. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks. And we also, I don't have it in the ground rules, but just acknowledging that we also have interpreters here today. We have Talisha and Carolyn, who are going to be rotating. It was, I think, every 15 minutes. So they will be spotlit as we go through, so hopefully you'll be able to see them. And we also have captions which should be running on the bottom of the screen. I'm not sure if that is working on the vision for view for everyone, because I can only see what I can currently see. But we do have a link in the chat if you would like to open your own browser with the captions. And yeah, but if you have any questions about that accessibility or anything, then also let us know in the chat or email. And most importantly, please be kind and respectful. When we are asking people to share their special interests, it is often something that is very special to them. And that means a lot to them. So yeah, just be kind and let's have fun. So the first, let's see if I can bring up the first presentation. Is PowerPoint going to be kind and let me do what I need to do? Security alert. Okay. I will just swap the view around, so hopefully everyone can you, oh, Joe, you have a question.
Sorry, Carolyn, I hope I'm saying your name right, has just asked if we can also spotlight her, so when she's ready to swap with Talisha. Thanks.
Yes, I will do that now. Add spotlight. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully that will work when you're ready. So can everyone see the first picture of my slide, which is a slightly creepy eye and the TARDIS in the background? Okay. So this is, oh, Noreen, yes.
Ignore me. Sorry, I was trying to do a thumbs up, clearly not.
So my presentation is what I would do if I had a time machine. That picture was taken at the London airport when I first got there for the first time, and I was very excited to see a TARDIS, so I took a pretty creepy photo. So imagine I have a TARDIS or another non-Doctor Who time machine, and this is what I would do with it. So, introduction. Who am I? I'm trying very hard not to do that in a Jean Valjean voice, but just, yeah, maybe play that in your head if you want to. I am Danica. I am a young woman with a very colourful fruity shirt and short brownish hair and white skin. I am here because I am in the AtChat team and I am presenting about something that brings me joy, which is anything to do with history. And what are the logical rules of time travel, and does anyone care? I know that there are logical rules of time travel and paradoxes. That means that if something happens in the past, it will affect things in future. I'm just going to ignore that and just make up my own, which is I can do whatever I want with time travel. Does anyone care about that, about the rules of time travel? Joe does? Okay, we'll keep your comments and questions for the end. We're just doing my rules for this one. So my top 3 trips, if I could have a time machine, are the Library of Alexandria, Mary Wollstonecraft, and Tasmania about 300 or plus years ago. And here is the why. So why is that not going to the next slide? There we go. So first, Library of Alexandria. I would have an unlimited library card for this place. Does anyone not know what or I should ask, who knows what the Library of Alexandria is or has heard? I'm hoping people have heard of the Library of Alexandria. If not, it's a library in a place called Alexandria. There is one currently now, but the one I'm referring to is the one that existed from like 200-ish BCE to, I don't know, maybe 500 CE-ish. It was a very big, important library because every time a ship went into the harbour at Alexandria, which is in Egypt, the people on board the ship would have to give all of their books to the library to be copied. So it had pretty much everything written, at least in the Western world at that time, in there. So it was had everything, all of the world, Western world knowledge at that time. What happened to it? Obviously, things that are old deteriorate over time, but especially when there's war and it burnt down a couple of times. There's even a story that some of the books from it were used to heat fires to warm up baths in the later 100 years. But it also just got spread around and bits got lost over time. So my cunning plan is to go back and go into the library and somehow copy all of the books in the library at that time, because there is so much knowledge that would be in there. There's science, all sorts of discoveries and stuff, which a lot of it we have now discovered now anyway. But there would be the complete works of Sappho, the biography of Cornelia Africana. There'd be so much in there, and everyday lives and people whose stories aren't told. And I would then share those stories. Jo, did you have a question?
That was the 3-minute warning.
Oh, no. Okay. Okay, well, I will have to hurry up the next ones then. So Mary Wollstonecraft was born in 1759. She was awesome. She was a great feminist and traveler and writer, but she died in childbirth when she was 38, giving birth to Mary Godwin, who then married Percy Shelley and became Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. If she had had antibiotics, she would have survived. So if I would go back and allow her to survive and grow up with her daughter and her other daughter, earlier daughter as well, and do all sorts of amazing things, because it's not fair that so many women die in childbirth. And very quickly, options. If you want to have questions, then yes, please let me know. Otherwise, I will very, very quickly talk. The third thing I go back and find a thylacine, because they went extinct. Because people can be awful and no, they're not in Nanup. They all died off, and I wish that they were still around. So that is basically my summary there. My cunning plan is just bringing them back, enough of a population to be viable. So my final thoughts, there are so many stories that get lost through history because they're not recorded. I want to bring them back. I think it is important for there to be good medicine, especially for mothers. And let's stop destroying animals or driving animals to extinction before they go. So that is my presentation. Is there any time for question, Jo, or shall we run on to the next one?
We are out of time, but I think
Okay.
that if anybody has any questions, that's okay.
Okay. Well, I do not have the chat open, so hopefully if there are questions, someone will let me know.
Fine. How about if anybody's got any questions, have a think about them. You can ask them at the end as well, and we'll also have a little quiz then too, so we can move on to the next one.
Yep. So who was next? Can you please remind me?
Next is Eleanor.
Eleanor, okay. I will do share again, and I will just bring up Eleanor's. Oh, I don't know. Okay, Eleanor, were you going to? I think you might need to share your screen yourself for that.
Okay.
Because I don't have your presentation.
It should have come through, but
it may have just come through after I was already tapping away at things and I haven't seen it.
Oh dear. This is...
I can check my emails. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, I can see it now. Do you want me to?
Okay.
I can.
Yep, that would be great.
And then bring it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My presentation is completely different.
Oh.
And very, very light-hearted.
Oh, this does look very important. Okay. Let's see. I will share my screen again and try and do the presenter thing. Okay, can everyone see the presentation? Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let me know when to go to the next slide, Eleanor.
Thank you. So I wanted to start by describing myself. I'm a middle-aged woman with fair skin and grey hair. I'm wearing glasses and I'm wearing a sleeveless floral blouse. My presentation is about finding the elusive best ever almond croissant. Next slide, please. This has become a real family thing. My sister hunts for the best ever vanilla slice. My thing is almond croissants. It was actually going to be a presentation about keeping seahorses, which I have actually kept quite successfully. And I've been part of an international community of mad keen seahorse keepers and marine aquarium enthusiasts. But I'm in Perth and my photos are in Adelaide. So I couldn't prove that I'd done that and it was going to be a very boring presentation. So I had to try and think of another weird hobby of mine, hobby in inverted commas, which brings me to hunting for the best ever almond croissant, which is a really serious pursuit. Next slide, please. So it requires absolute dedication. Forget the flabby, doughy, pale imitation croissants sold in many bakeries. You really need to be careful and select top-notch patisseries and artisan bakers. The essential criteria for a really good almond croissant, and of course this is scientifically researched, include a requirement for the croissant to be crispy and well layered, but not over-baked and not too dry. The filling needs to be slightly moist, but not soggy. Anything custardy is a really hard fail. The topping should include lightly browned flaked almonds dusted with a nice layer of icing sugar. And my picture shows a fail. Not enough flaked almonds on top of the croissant, not enough icing sugar, and I suspect that it's probably actually not that nice inside either. Next slide, please. So there are a few questionable practices. Is a raspberry almond croissant still truly an almond croissant when it's been contaminated with raspberries? Don't even get me started on almond croissants with chocolate, which I think are an abomination. The filling needs to be layered into the dough. A croissant which has been split and filled is an absolute failure. And seriously, seriously, no almond essence custard fillings are acceptable. They're just disgusting. Next slide, please. So this is an obsession which you can pursue in any city around the world. Word of warning, though, my experience of almond croissants in Paris was pretty dismal, although I do feel that I need to repeat this study tour at some point in the future when I have a bit more money. Melbourne, everybody raves about Lune croissants, which are very expensive and a bit meh. The French lettuce almond croissants are passable, but Melbourne, yeah. After 11 years of living in Melbourne, I'm yet to find one that an almond croissant that I'm going to rave about. In Hobart, Pigeonhole Bakers. These are very, very, very good, worth the trip, although they are in Hobart. But there are some other compensations to being in Hobart as well, but Pigeonhole Bakers definitely worth hunting down. In Adelaide, Abbott's and Kinney are seriously very good, and they make a really good coffee too, which is an essential second part. And in Perth, Layers Bakery in Subiaco, which is right up there with the best of them. So last slide, I think. Yeah, that's my last slide. So yes, and is a croissant when it's been contaminated by pain au chocolat or other Cruffins. Cruffins are disgusting. Seriously, such a disappointment. So I had a question for everybody. What is your favourite item of patisserie? I'd be interested to know. And do you go hunting for them when you're out and about and travelling? And that's me. Oh, escargot. Yeah, a good escargot, yes. Layer's Bakery does a really seriously good cinnamon almond sort of escargot thing that's worth hunting out, but they sell out very, very quickly. Actually, cinnamon buns generally in Perth better than anywhere else I've had. Oh, cardamom, yum. Okay, that's me. I've raved for enough. See you later. Thanks.
I'm wondering if we just maybe do a warning at 4 minutes instead of 3 minutes.
Sure.
Everybody thought, yeah,
Sure.
cool.
Yep. Okay, who is up
I was
next?
going to say, is that because you know I'm next, Joe?
No, not at all.
It's me, Danica.
Okay, I will get that up. Switch that around. Okay.
And
Is that up?
apologies,
Can you all see?
you've got a triple threat today. I come with a cold, and the cold medication means that I haven't had my ADHD medication, so my focus is squirreled, and my cognitive fatigue is right up there. So focus, amazing.
It's authentic.
It's authentic, very authentic. So today I wanted to talk about sensory preferences, and the image that I have is about the 8 senses, which we'll get to. I should start with, my name is Noreen, and I'm the AT mentor with AdChat at the moment. I'm also a middle-aged woman with fair skin, and I'm wearing dark green glasses and a green and black dress, and I have short brown hair. Okay, next slide, please. So why on earth am I so interested in the senses? Because they shape everything that we do and how we navigate the world. There's a quote there from an American cook, celebrity chef, that says, "I think we love bacon because it has all the qualities of an amazing sensory experience. When we cook it, the sizzling sound is so appetizing, the aroma is maddening, the crunch of the texture is so gratifying, and the taste delivers every time." For me, as someone with a neurological condition where a lot of my symptoms are triggered by sensory input, and then was diagnosed late in life as autistic with ADHD, understanding my sensory preferences was really keen to managing neurological symptoms. So it's really important in every part of my day. Next slide. So there's a couple of OTs in the room, so they're all across this, but most people only know about the 5 primary senses. So a sense of smell, sight, taste, hearing, and touch. But there's 3 more hidden senses. So our awareness of our internal states, whether we're hungry or full or thirsty, whether we're hot or cold, whether we're experiencing pain, whether we need to go to the bathroom, these are all interoception. Our spatial awareness or understanding of where exactly our body is in time and space is our proprioception, and our balance and movement is our vestibular sense. Next slide, please. And when you're talking to people about sensory processing, there's lots of strange words that are used, and some of them are quite medical. I tend to like the terms sensory seeking and sensory avoiding. But sensory seeking, you might also hear that someone has low registration, under-responsive, hyposensitive, or sensory craving. For sensory avoiding, you might hear high registration, over-responsive, hypersensitive, or sensory sensitive. Now, most people have different preferences for different senses, and these can change with capacity and across different settings. So Eleanor, by the sounds of it, with her quest for the ultimate almond croissant, is, in terms of taste, quite sensory seeking. The crunch, the flavour, all of those things. So you can be sensory seeking in one sense, and sensory avoiding in another sense. So you might struggle with loud noises, or it might be a bit of a Goldilocks scenario where, if it's the right noise, you're seeking it, but if it's the wrong noise, you're running for the hills. Next slide, please.
Oh, sorry.
The other way. That's it. And you've probably seen or heard comments about people with tags at the back of their shirts. You know, if you think about, you feel something at the back of your neck and your brain goes, oh my goodness, what is that? And then the next thought your brain has is, it's okay, it's just a tag, chill. And the next time your brain registers, there's something, oh, it's just that tag. And each time it registers less. For some people, that registration doesn't change and it's just as loud every single time. And it's all the fault of the thalamus. So they've actually, the sciencey part of this is that hyperconnectivity between the thalamus and I'm trying to remember the right word so I don't mess it up, the parts of the cortex where it's hyperconnected, so lots of strong functional connections, that's when people have sensory processing differences. Thank you, Joe. I'm going to have to burn through the rest of this. Next slide, please. Okay, so you've probably heard about sensory triggers, bright flashing lights, the slimy custard that Eleanor pointed out in the chat, wet feet, all sorts of different things can trigger people and be unpleasant. Okay, and for some people that can actually cause sensory overload and perhaps even a meltdown, which is different to a tantrum. It's actually when the nervous system becomes overwhelmed by the amount or the intensity of sensory information. We're going to keep going faster. Next slide, please. So we've all heard about triggers, but what you may not have heard about are sensory glimmers. And these are things where the sensory input is just as intense, but in a very positive way. It brings moments of joy, peace, connection. It offers us relief in a society that's often overwhelming. It helps us to feel safe and can calm the nervous system, letting us reconnect with learning. Thank you, Joe. And it helps us to feel more in tune with ourselves and the world around us. And I'd really encourage you to figure out if there are any sensory glimmers in your life. Next slide. Okay, so I would like to encourage you to go on a diet, and that is a sensory diet. To think about your sensory preferences. Think about how you see and understand the world through your senses, and how does that shape your emotions and your thoughts and your well-being. Next slide. And because I can't resist giving away some freebies, I've got some links here. One is Neurodivergent Insights, a link to discover your sensory preferences. And instead of being for kids, it's for adults, which is amazing. And the second one, tying in with our theme for sports, crafts, and hobbies, is a list of leisure interests and sports through the senses. So you can actually go, if you realize that you're visually seeking, and find all of the hobbies that are really great for people that are sensory seeking. Or if you want to avoid touch, then you can look for the things that are not so great for touch. And that's me.
Thank you. Just looking at the sensory glimmers made me calm down a little bit, just thinking about them. Thank you. Okay, and who is next?
Ty is next.
Ty is next, okay. I will bring up Ty's presentation. All right. Whoa. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
So, my name is Ty. I'm a 30-year-old male with light brown skin. I have long dark hair in a bun, a bit of facial hair, glasses, and a black shirt today. And I have titled my presentation The Fried Fly, My Light's Obsession, because I find myself very passionate, but at times burnt out from this obsession of mine. Can I click? Oh, yeah, next.
Mhm.
So I'm going to have to go through these slides pretty quickly because I think it's a bit long for what it should be. So my youngest memories that I have, quite particular to relative to what Noreen was just speaking about in terms of sensory preferences, I really had to go on a journey. At a young age, I really couldn't understand why I loved fireworks and couldn't look away. But also, if you asked me if I liked fireworks, I probably would have said no. And the reason is because I could not stand the sound, and it made my heart absolutely pound and race. So that was very confusing for many years and continued to be. So if you go to the next slide for me. So I grew up listening to music. I love music. I played guitar with my dad. My sisters were always playing Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I loved it. And then came Big Day Out. I was finally of age, and I could go to a festival such as this. But I also knew that I was potentially going to struggle with the crowd, the noise, but I really had to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So I did brave it. I went. And that experience, if you flick to the next slide, as you might have imagined, was hit and miss. So I found myself crammed next to sweaty people. It was really hard for me to focus and gather my own thoughts and really be present because there was just so much happening all in one space. And it was really strange because everyone around me is having a great time. And I think I should be having a great time. I'm excited about seeing the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I did. I saw them. And during that time, I found myself really immersed in that. But I really had to surrender to the fact that I was pushed into all these sweaty people. It was really hard to have my own personal space. So it was this tug of war of, am I here enjoying this? I think I am. And if you go to the next slide, music continued to be a very important part for me, but I needed to figure this out. And I didn't actually figure this out. I just shared this story with a friend of mine who was studying OT. And having their experience studying OT, they actually shared with me, have you considered something like earplugs? And my first thought was, well, that would kind of detract from that feeling of being there. I really want to hear what they're playing and the way they're playing it. And it was a bit of a journey, I guess, from that point to find these particular earplugs for me, which only take out the very high pitch and the very low end sounds that tend to hurt your ears. And that allowed me to feel comfortable and actually enjoy the music, the live performances that I wanted to continue to attend. So next slide. So I found what was called projection mapping. I don't know if this video is going to play. It's not playing on my end. Oh, there we go. Which is essentially mapping a projected image onto a 3D object. And so what you're viewing now is something called projection mapping. And that's projection mapping. What you're viewing now is a technique called structured light. And I was just going to share my screen quickly to give you a takeaway of something new. So if you can imagine a projector's sending out an image of straight lines, and it's expecting to see those straight lines back in the camera. But then what the computer works out is that as the projector goes over the sphere, they're no longer straight lines, but slightly curved lines. And that allows the computer to then work out the depth of the object. So how close something might be and how far away it might be. And so what that allows, if you go back to the video we were just watching.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I'm sharing. That's my mistake.
Okay.
How do I get back? Stop screen sharing. Okay. And if you go back to the presentation.
Yep. Next slide.
Yeah, go to the next slide.
Yep. Okay.
Sorry, that's not come up yet.
Oh, is it not oh,
No,
okay, it's not
not
sharing my
showing.
screen. Okay. We're just about at 5 minutes, by the way.
Yep. So we'll flick all through.
Yep.
Being a very niche aspect of audio and visual profession, I found myself going from nightclubs to a full-scale festival in a year and a half very quickly. And from that point, if you kind of just maybe flick through the slides, led me to a variety of different experiences that I wouldn't have otherwise had unless I made the decision to invest my house deposit savings at the age of 20 into a $20,000 projector, because I really wanted to demonstrate the quality and that feeling of a real kind of illusion. And that only came with this kind of tier of projector. So that was my investment. If you keep clicking through, in the scale of working on large scale events, you realize that bed sheets are used for projection screens. You work within the limitations you have. So my Suzuki Swift was always packed to the rafters. I would have my knees in my chest driving until maybe you can get a van for hire for one day, which is nice. Skipping through.
Yep. Sorry.
You face the wrath of nature. So we had an inflatable stage that I had projection mapped, but the night before the event, 100-kilometer winds in Fremantle stopped that from happening. So I was up till 5 a.m. when I was meant to have finished that setup the night before, but we were just waiting for a break in the wind. So I was up till 5 a.m. to start, and just enough darkness that I could do the installation, and then had to return to the event a couple of hours later after a quick nap to make sure it was all up and running for the day. If you skip to the next one. So you really have to love it. Things go wrong all the time. Computers crash for no reason, or particularly you find out maybe there is a reason years later, and technology just fails, and you need to have someone solder bits together for you 5 minutes before a show. If you skip to the next. And so it requires specialized equipment. So I developed a lot of my own kit because you're in places where people spill drinks, you're in harsh conditions where sunlight melts components, and in the daylight it's out in sun all day, and also the amount of dust will leave you cleaning for weeks and burning out commutes. I think I might need to end maybe if that's time.
Possibly. I think that is probably what I think Joe is back
I guess
in.
for the quiz, this was an installation I did with UV paint. So the laser activates the UV paint, and to do that you use blue, and the fun part is you can use a red laser to erase that blue interactivity with the UV paint. Okay, I'll finish there.
That was very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
And is it Ellen? Oh no, wait. Who? I think it is just Joe to go. Okay. So I will get that up. Can everyone see crabs? Okay. Okay, go.
Apologies, I just had to restart my computer. So I'm back just in time for my presentation. I'm Jo. I'm a middle-aged woman. I have fair skin and dark blonde hair. I'm wearing glasses, and I'm wearing red and white flowers today. And I have a picture of Christmas Island in the background on my screen. So what do crabs and casinos have in common? Christmas Island. Next slide, please. So Christmas Island is shaped like a dog. So that's a thing it has in common with a crab. I was lucky enough to live on Christmas Island for a few years, and I spent quite a few years going there on holidays as well, when my dad, who's a GP, was doing locums there. Next slide, please. So Christmas Island is called by the locals the Rock, not that rock. It's a different rock. It's a Christmas Island looks like a big volcanic rock. So it's not your idyllic tropical island with lots of white sandy beaches. It's got lots of limestone cliffs, and which leads to amazing snorkeling and diving and lots of fish and lots of colour in the water. It's about 2,500 kilometres from Perth and about 300 kilometres below Java. So it's very, very tropical. Next slide, please. So firstly, crabs and casinos. The crabs. So the crabs all live in the rainforest on Christmas Island, and when the wet season starts, they start migrating down to the ocean. So they've built bridges on the island there that you can see. I think when I lived on the island, the record number of tyres popped by crabs was 13 in a day. and now they've got many things in place to protect the crabs. So once they get down to the ocean, they lay their eggs, and then all these little tiny baby crabs come back from the ocean and they start migrating their way back up to the rainforest. David Attenborough visited Christmas Island and called it this red crab migration one of the phenomena of the world and one of his top TV experiences. Next slide, please. And secondly, the casino. So when I lived there, the casino was open and thriving, and I worked at the casino for a while as a croupier. You can see here in the picture on the left, the pool, the girl sitting there is my sister. So that was probably, I think, 96 or 97. And the casino actually shut down 2 weeks after I left the island in 98. And now that's a picture of the pool is empty, and the casino itself has been completely neglected and is overrun. The island started taking over it again. Next slide, please. So I lived in this house, which you can see that little red dot on the map of Christmas Island. It's there. So the top of the Dog's Head, that's pretty much where most people live. I lived in an area called Settlement. The other areas are called Poonsan, which means halfway up the hill. Drumsite, Silver City, Kampong, which is down at Flying Fish Cove, which is the main beach area. So our house was directly opposite the limestone cliffs, and we used to go and jump off those and go swimming, and then try and wait for the right wave to come back and push ourselves up so we could climb back up the cliff again. So I don't think I'd probably let my kids do that now. I probably first went to the island in 1992 and lived in that house. We actually had all of our holidays in that house, and then I lived in that house from 96 to 98. Next slide, please. So I was lucky enough to go back to the island. I think it was two or 3 years ago. My brother moved there for 2 years with his family. So that's my sister-in-law there holding on to a robber crab. They're called robber crabs because they steal everything, and they're called coconut crabs in other places because they can crack open coconuts with those massive big claws. And while I was there, we were lucky enough to meet the caretaker of the resort, and he let us go and have a look around. So there's a photo of me like back in my croupier role, doing that for my kids to show them what I used to do, except for there was no money then, and it was millions of dollars back when I was actually working in that role. Next slide, please. Oh, and sorry, there's a couple of photos missing. I think I must have added to the presentation after I gave it to Danica. So the photos that are missing are one of me when I was about 15, joining in a local triathlon, and I did the bike leg, and I was with about 4 local boys in that photo. And the second photo is of me doing a marathon with a group of my casino colleagues in, I think, maybe 1997. So I did both a marathon and a triathlon when I visited there and lived there. So my last words about Christmas Island, and sorry, I haven't been timing myself, so I've got no idea where I'm up to. But there's a photo of me with my family there. My boys loved it. We've always taken them snorkeling, but I think they really got into snorkeling when we went there for a holiday, because it's just like you can see the water in the second photo that is amazing. And then also one of my most absolute favourite things about living on Christmas Island was the multiculturalism. So the island's probably when I lived there, it was probably maybe 70% Chinese Malaysian, and then Malaysian, and then white people. So there was a big mosque down at the cove, and there were Chinese temples all around the island, and everybody was included in any sort of religious ceremonies that were happening. It didn't matter what your background was, everybody was included. So yeah, there's Christmas Island, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody's got about it. It's one of my favourite places in the world.
Thank you, everyone, for coming along today and sharing what makes you happy, what brings you joy, what brings you excitement, what gets you all doing jazz hands. And hopefully we can do another one of these at another time.